We are live, and this is Talking Sci-Fi.
And your host, Sean and Randee.
Well, here we are, the very first episode of Talking Sci-Fi with my co-host, Randee.
Hi.
And of course, I'm Sci-Fi Sean, and we welcome you to our show. Tell us a little bit about yourself for a quick second, Randee.
Okay, well.
If you can talk that long.
Yeah, I can talk that long.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay.
Can you be quiet that long?
I can.
All right.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
All right, so, okay, where do I begin? I did not realize I was in science fiction until I got later in life. But then when I look back, I'm like, oh my God, one of my favorite movies of all time was The Last Starfighter. You remember that movie?
I do. I love that movie.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay. So when I think back to that, I put myself in his shoes. I wanted that to happen to me. I wanted to win that video game.
You want to be in that. You want to be in that gun star.
That's right. Yes,
That's right.
I mean, the little food town and the little town I grew up in had a little thing. My mom would say, "Oh, we're out of milk. You need to run get milk."
Yeah.
I went and raided the coin jar. I went up there and I played the video games. And I wanted to be a part of that. And as an adult, I grew older and I realized, I really like this stuff. Superman was one of the first movies I saw in the theater.
Absolutely.
Or the second one, it's been so long ago I don't quite remember. But I just remember him sticking his hand in the fireplace.
Yep.
Not burning.
Getting his glasses that
Oh
knocked
my
her
God.
out. Yeah.
That was like mind blowing to me.
Lois Lane caught him, and then boom, it was all out.
Right, exactly. So, that's the stuff I remember, but I didn't realize, oh my God, I'm into science fiction.
Absolutely.
Okay, I was a kid, and I also remember, you taking Star Trek and Star Wars. For some reason, society made me feel like I had to choose. Okay, and I don't know why. When I think back, I'm like, why did I feel like I had to choose? I couldn't like both. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
The Wrath of Khan was fantastic, but for some reason, I just didn't feel like it was my show.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then you had The Empire Strikes Back, which was my first recollection of Star Wars. Okay, finding out Darth Vader's Luke's dad.
Right.
Him taking his helmet off. Han Solo using the lightsaber in the beginning. The AT-ATs, you know what I'm saying? Or AT-ATs,
You may tell you something. I'm gonna tell you something mind blowing about
Okay.
Star Wars since you're touching
Right.
that, because I was a huge fan of Empire Strikes Back.
Right.
But wouldn't it be really colossal if they found out that Darth Vader was really Anakin Skywalker? That would be really cool, wouldn't it?
That would be crazy.
I know, because if you look at it, I've been seeing things on Facebook
Right.
where they actually have their hands held the same way.
It's amazing.
I hope
These
that
people are
happens.
finding
I'm
all
hoping that
stuff.
happens. So.
I'm not that very detailed, and I would have never found those connections.
I think it's amazing. when I met you for the first time, I was like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Because I couldn't figure out where your loyalties lie, which is, since you mentioned Star Wars,
Yeah.
you're more of a Star Wars person versus a Star Trek person like myself.
Right.
But you've actually mentioned in your talk about who you are and how you got into this, the two greatest science fiction movies ever made, which is number one, Wrath of Khan, Star Trek Wrath of Khan, and then number two, The Empire Strikes Back.
You mean number 2, Wrath of Khan, and number 1, Empire Strikes Back?
It depends on what perspective.
Oh, I got you.
They were both
Yeah, I got you.
the second
Yes.
in the franchise
That's right.
movies, and
Yeah.
the second ones were the best. But
Yeah.
anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
Continue
no.
talking.
No.
'Cause I've never heard you talk
this
long.
much and
I
this
know, it's
long.
really
I
crazy.
know. Well, I'm excited, and I love science fiction now. And I'm going to get hate mail for this, but I'm not a Doctor Who fan.
No.
I can't. I've tried to watch it. It's just something that it didn't. I don't know. It just didn't sit well with me. And I love time travel. Of course, Back to the Future
Absolutely.
movies was just mind blowing to me. And and I play music, so the Johnny, the playing the guitar,
Yeah.
it stuck with me. And of course, the principal's name has the same last name as me.
Yeah, that's
So,
cool.
That's
cool.
So those are some of the things that really got me sucked in, but one of the things, you take the most important movies to me growing up were stuff like The Goonies, okay?
Right.
Big Trouble in Little China is one of my favorite
Great
movies.
movie. Pork Chop Express, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep.
And so those are the type of things that kind of drew me in, but that was also at a time where I'm like, if somebody asked me what type of movies you liked, I would never in a million say, oh, I'm big into science fiction.
Right.
Because I didn't realize it, okay? Now, let's get to present day, and I am all about it. And some of these movies that I watch, they get terrible reviews, but I love looking at the technology that they're using in these movies, like Jupiter Ascending. Let's take that. Terrible reviews. I love that movie.
Never watched it.
Oh man,
I need to
loved
check that out. Mm-hmm.
And but here's the deal. I tend to lean, in my early adulthood, lean towards horror movies. Okay, okay. So
I'm not really big into horror movies, but you know.
Well, me and my wife, when we were young, we would go into these movies, and The Omen, and all those freaked the crap out of me, and I really enjoyed that era. Well, my wife started losing interest in horror movies, so I don't go to horror movies by myself because
you're scared.
I'm scared.
You're scared of the baby.
Scared. You're right. That shit scares the hell out of me.
I know.
So I eventually, I've evolved, and now I love the space odysseys. Okay, but I'm gonna tell you, there was an era there where I was all about zombies, and I don't know why. I don't know why. I just, for some reason, zombies infatuated me, and I believe in guns, and I believe in having weapons just in case, but I'm not one of them nut jobs, okay? I'm not a nut job that is stocking, tomato soup in the cabinet, waiting on the zombie apocalypse.
My wife and I are similar. We are stocking in case there's a meteorite
right.
or
Okay.
World War III breaks out
or
whatever. I'm not really worried about zombies because they've taken bath salts off those shelves.
It's happening.
Yeah, it does really happen. But these are some of the things that Randee is talking about and explaining how he got into this that we're going to be talking about in all of our shows. This podcast is for the regular sci-fi guys, to coin a phrase.
Right.
It's about how people got in, because I'm enjoying your story. I hate to keep interrupting you, but it's just, I need some airtime.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely. Yeah, you need it.
I'm
live off of it.
I'm so shy. Yeah, all that. So zombies,
Yeah.
what is, just to pick on you just a few minutes, why are you scared of zombies?
Well, it's not necessarily that I'm scared of them, but do you remember Return of the Living Dead?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm a heavy metal music fan.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, and the
Gore, you like gore.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes,
yeah.
And I got to stop saying absolutely.
I
always say absolutely.
I say awesome constantly.
Yeah, I know.
So,
it's like we're out of the 90s, right? So, but
80s.
80s.
I was just calling an old fart on the air. So, okay.
So here it is, Return of the Living Dead. A naked woman saying she wanted to be ravaged by multiple men, and I'm a kid, and I'm like, yeah, when the zombies come out of the ground, and she's like, oh, and she's in the mud, and it's made for a teenager, right?
Wow.
And then the skeleton comes out of the ground, and he's mouthing the words to, I want a party, and the heavy metal music is going on.
Yeah.
And I just, and the acid rain, and they're burning bodies, and it's making more zombies, and it's like, it's catch-22, and I'm like, this is amazing. You know what I'm saying? It's just wow. And it didn't really freak me out, but they put a spin on it. Zombies could talk in that movie. They had brains. And they didn't just eat flesh, they wanted brains.
Right.
Brains helped them get what they needed.
But see,
so
that's
they
where
broke the genre.
Right.
Yeah.
That's where I was going with what makes you afraid of zombies, because you have no brain.
They would leave me alone.
They would leave you alone
as long as I was in that era.
Oh, I got you.
World War Z freaked the crap out.
Never another one. Like I said, I've never been a big horror movie.
They got an infection, and if I don't know, it's crazy. They run around fast, and they think,
right?
And
they run fast. They use weapons and things like that.
And I Am Legend also went that route, which was fantastic with Will Smith.
I could not when I realized the dog. I'm sorry, spoiler alert, when the dog gets it, I'm not into that. So
yeah, I got you, but I'm telling you, him being, his mind being so warped and going in there around them while they're huddled up, which remind me of like the Blair Witch Project,
right?
When the kid is standing in the corner and they're huddling and he's trying to get his dog. His mind is so warped. That's his best friend, and there's no other people around.
Right.
He's got to get that dog, and he's willing to sacrifice his life, right?
Correct.
And then he gets out of there, and the zombie stops at the light and actually burns himself to show that he's thinking. and then he's coming to get him.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And that right there is like powerful to
Sounds
me.
like an incredible movie.
Yeah.
Stop the press. This is going to shock everyone out there in iPod land. I have never seen one episode of The Walking Dead. Not one. Does that shock you?
It does shock me.
Not
yes.
one episode.
Well, since I'm on this roll, let me jump on that real quick.
Yes,
okay?
please.
I watched The Walking Dead and I didn't like it.
Really?
I was like, this is disappointing. Okay, so 4 or 5 seasons go by, and one of my awesome sons, which I got to get to because real quick, I'll run over that real quick because to show you how much I'm into sci-fi and my wife is that my oldest son's name is Gage Ashton, and that is from the movie Pet Sematary.
Yes, it is.
And that was at an era when me and the wife would watch horror movies together. Okay, now she's a reader and she likes those types of books, but she's not big on watching. So our first son was named Gage Ashton. I said, so that means I get to name the second kid, right?
Okay.
And she's like, absolutely. I'm like, you got it.
You said absolutely again.
I did. Holy cow. So when it's all said and done and I'm getting ready to name this kid, I'm like, what is my favorite movie at this time? Okay? Now I didn't want a normal name because my brother and my dad are all Jameses and I'm a James.
You're getting real personal on this,
Right.
aren't you?
But what I'm saying is that it's an issue. Every time I go to buy something, I have to get approval and get notarized papers that say I don't own all this crap.
That's crazy.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So when it comes down to it, I said I want something different. So I took the name Nathan that I liked, and I looked, and there's tons of people named Nathan. So I put an L on it instead of an N.
That's
His name's
great.
Lathan.
Yeah.
But his middle name is Blade.
Really?
Why do I like Blade? Well, because he's part of / vampire.
The Daywalker.
Daywalker that has what I want because I want to live forever.
Right.
Okay? And he's out killing these people, and I'm like, his middle name's Blade. And the wife was like, I like that, but for our son, I'm like, yeah, yes, he's going to be Blade, right? She goes, well, I'm going to top that because I'm going to name the third son because it's my rotation. She goes, now, I didn't want 4 kids. She did. She said, so since we're rotating, you get to name the 4th kid. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want another kid.
So you got kind of screwed on that.
I got it right on the name.
Now tell them what the name of your third child because I know what it is and I want to.
Here's
It's
the
really
deal.
awesome.
If I die or if I leave my wife or she leaves me, it will be for Vin Diesel. Okay? Well, his name is Xander Cage.
Yeah, that's
from
really
Triple
awesome.
X.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
So, anyways, let me get back to what I was talking about because I had to bring that up and now I done lost focus. Where was I talking
You're talking
about?
about The Walking Dead.
Oh, The Walking
Yep.
Dead.
Mhm.
So Blade comes downstairs and he goes, Dad, have you ever watched Walking Dead? I know you love zombies. And I'm like, look, let's sit down and talk. We sit down and talk and I tell him about the bath salts because I'm always being a dad first.
Right.
Okay. And I'm like, okay, now let's watch The Walking Dead with, because he's begging me to watch it with him. And I'm like, God, I didn't like it. So we start this show over and we get about 3 or 4 episodes in and I'm like, I kind of like this. This is kind of what, like I was talking earlier, oh my goodness, I am going to, like I swear to God, I'm not a nut and think the zombie apocalypse is coming, but I want to see what they're doing and I want to learn.
Right.
So I'm like, yeah, I'll watch this with you. So we sit down, we watch this, and I'm falling in love with it, and it is amazing, and I just love how they roam the country, and they're doing all these things, and yes, it is a soap opera, but I like it, okay? And there's other ways they could have killed the zombies to make it easier on themselves.
Right.
I mean, these are basically slow-walking zombies.
Right.
I'm hopefully even my fat ass could get away from a slow-walking zombie.
You know, you run pretty fast because you do those 5Ks and all. I always notice that your wife, Ashley, ties that fishing pole over your head and dangles a Twinkie in front
absolutely.
of you to
That's
make
what
you
it
run
takes.
faster. No, but seriously, this man right here has lost a lot of weight. You can't see it because
Yeah, I'm still
maybe
fat,
if you find our video blog
right.
and you'll see it. But the thing, and we're going to touch on this more.
Right.
I know we're going in depth on things, but my first impression of The Walking Dead,
Yeah.
and we have one of the guest one of the actors from the Walking Dead is going to be at SYFy Bartow 2020.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yes, and I'll hold that for a surprise for another episode.
Yeah, I'm just excited.
The beginning of what we started talking about is how you got into science fiction and what, and I think you've given us a good brief history. And over these next hundreds of podcasts and video blogs we do, we'll learn more about the secret life of Randee. That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
See, I learned things about you, and I've known you for years. I didn't know that's how you named your kids. I knew what the kids' names were. But I didn't know the story behind it, which is really amazing. Randee and I met. Of course, we've created this podcast because of a phenomenal event called Sci-fi Bartow, which we were about to celebrate year 7 in February this year. And I wanted to do something different that other conventions did not do. And I hate to refer to Sci-Fi Bartow as a convention, because it really isn't. It's just a gathering of nerds, geeks, and people in the know of science fiction and other things. I wanted to have a car show. And this is how I met Randee. And he's really into cars, and he does other car shows. And we created the Sci-Fi Bartow Car Show, which is now, you have how many cars show up for now?
Well, I have a list of 150 that are science fiction cars.
Right.
And I can normally get, because of scheduling conflicts, between 60 and 85.
Yeah.
So, you know.
So Randee was a perfect fit, so we became bonded. And he has lived around the corner, literally, from my home for years. I never even knew the man. And I have met so many amazing people over the years because of Sci-Fi Bartow. And Randee's one of them. And you came to me and wanted to start doing this podcast, and I said, no, everybody's doing podcasts. I don't want to be like that. You know, we have some good friends, which I'll mention later, that do some awesome podcasts and video blogs, vlogs. Technology slips me sometimes.
Yeah,
but we're going to try this. This was our first episode. It was mostly about getting to know Randee and I on a personal level, and you got real personal. I love your dad. His dad brings me Cuban cigars. I love that because I'm a cigar smoker. Just wanted a few things about me, because I won't take up as much time as Randee, because I'm a talker, and Randee said you'd be perfect for this because you're the mouth, and he's the comic relief, and he is. But that's how I met Randee, a little story there. But how I got into science fiction, I was actually born into it. I've been a Star Trek fan since day one. I followed it from the very beginning. Original Star Trek, 1960s versions. You talk about horror movies and stuff. I was never into that, but there are things on Star Trek that scared the crap out of me as a little kid. The Horde, a little blob guy walks around and burns people to the ground. Turned out to be a very intelligent being that was, you know, just trying to protect its young. Spoiler alert, 1968. You had the little pancake guys that got stuck on Mr. Spock's back, you know, and they look like, literally, that fake vomit, I don't know if they still make it or not. You go to the store, like, it's a fake plastic vomit. That's what they look like, and then they just throw them at them, and it sounds corny nowadays, and our next podcast, we're going to dip into this a little bit more about the differences between old Star Trek and new Star Trek. We're going to focus on the show Discovery, which Randee is a fan of, and not a fan of the original Star Trek. I'm a major Star Trek fan, not really into Discovery. So over the years, I got into collecting things. Most of our studio, as you see, is Star Trek. If you could pan the camera around, which I'm not going to ask you to, we're in a complete Star Trek man cave. Yes, I smell smoke because there's an R2-D2 sitting in my Star Trek room. But we'll get into that later. You had mentioned Doctor Who. We have the TARDIS up here. I'm not a big Doctor Who fan. I like it. I only like one of the Doctors. Heaven forbid.
Oh.
And it's David Tennant. That's my Doctor. And I've never seen all of his episodes. I haven't seen but I like it.
Is he one of the most popular?
I would say yes.
Yeah.
Him and they had a younger guy after him. A few Doctors after him was played by, and his name is leaving me right now.
Wow,
younger guy. I just had it right there.
You must not have been a fan of him.
I did,
oh,
but,
but
the thing about the Kevin Smith.
Oh, okay.
Kevin Smith's Doctor. Was it not Kevin Smith?
Yeah,
that's
I don't know.
That's the fat guy. That's the comedian. Dang it! I am so sorry to my Doctor Who fans out there, and you're screaming at the computer right now. Anyway, they touched on some things that got personal with me, so I couldn't watch it. It was like, why am I living through this, watching this, and I'm doing this in my real life?
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But There are science fiction programs and shows and movies that I don't really care about. I've never even went and seen, you know. But I'm a hardcore Trekkie, but I love fantasy. I'm a big Godzilla fan. We have a podcast coming up about Godzilla. Mm-hmm. My wife's a huge Harry Potter fan. I am as well. I like Star Wars to a point, a small point. My good friend Kevin Heavenridge, he wants to come on board. He is the one of the garrison people from the 501st out of Tampa Bay.
Oh, I would love that.
And he said when we do our Star Trek versus Star Wars, he said, put me in, Coach. Because that's going to be a good podcast when we get to it.
We'll need 3 or 4 people here for that, I'm sure.
I've run and helped run and assisted at people that have run conventions for over 20 years. There was a show that was out of South Florida called Volcon, run by a wonderful man, my mentor, Joe Motes. I would do the entertainment sections for him and do the goofy games, and I've been doing that for years. I've been on cruises. I've been to Star Trek cruises to Jamaica 3 times now.
Oh, wow.
I've flown all over the United States helping out, and I've always been into it. Mm-hmm. If they've been on Star Trek, other than Discovery, I've met them at least once and have their autographs. So that's a little bit about me. I run a science fiction. What would you say? It would be like a street fair kind of a thing. I guess that'd be the best way to call it. I mentioned SYFy Bartow, and it's always free to attend, and that's why I want to do. We have some awesome vendors, we have some guests, we do a lot of activities, and that's really put it in. I have done it as a volunteer thing for our small town called Bartow, Florida. Google it, you'll find it. It's here. It's small, but we draw almost 30,000 people a year to this street fair, and it's a lot of fun. So, upcoming shows we're going to do. I need to talk about some sponsors real quick.
Oh, excuse me. Yes,
okay.
Yes, you do.
Randy and I, we were flirting around, whatever, with this idea for the podcast. I'd mentioned it to a couple people, and all of a sudden we have people wanting to be sponsors right off the bat.
Yeah, right off the bat. We don't even have a podcast.
I know, and we haven't even started. I mean, like, we always have people wanting to throw money at us and things like that, which I think's awesome.
Yeah,
which we're going to put right back into technology and everything to make the show even better for you guys. But S&L Restaurant here in Lakeland, Florida. If you want to check them out, I got the address. It's 2915 South Cumbie Road in Eden Park, which is technically kind of like south of Lakeland a little bit. They have the best hamburger in town, in my opinion.
And if I'm not mistaken, the code enforcement officers, they eat there.
They eat there, yes. The health department guys eat there, so they love it.
That's can't have any better marketing than that.
My sister-in-law actually owns that restaurant. I'm not just saying it because it's her, but it is really good food. Another person that's getting on board, you've been seeing me drink out of this really awesome cup. You can't see it with that, but it's a stainless steel. These stainless steel cups that are such the craze now and a few years ago where it'll keep hot beverages hot all day almost and cold beverages cold, but it has the Sci-fi Bartow logo on it.
It's wonderful looking.
There's a 30-ounce cup and a 40-ounce cup that my good friend at J&E Creations, which you can find on Facebook, her logo is a little bumblebee looking thing. Find that. She is pre-selling these things for Sci-fi Bartow. 30-ounce cup is $30. 40-ounce cup is $40, which I think is reasonable. And listen to this. If you pre-order these, because you got to have them before Sci-fi Bartow, she's going to have a few there in February. But you can pre-order these. If you mention this podcast, it's free shipping anywhere in the United States. So just kind of remember that.
Wow, that's a big deal.
Yeah, and
I want to spend a lot of time.
Yes.
And she's very creative.
A lot of people, I'm going to show it up on the video blog, the Ditto Cam, if you will, or whatever. It's beautiful. It's blue. It's got the Sci-Fi Bartow logo, the UFO as we call it, and it is a solid metal. You can hear that. I love it. So I want to mention those two people because they are really excited to be a part of this as well. We have a lot of exciting things to talk about in up-and-coming events. I know we're running out of time for this first show, and we appreciate you sticking with us while we're explaining a little bit about what we're going to do here and who we are. And as we go on, you can get the pieces of the puzzle, because I'll let Randy talk a little bit more. And seriously, this man right here, he does not talk. And I'm like sitting back here like, wow, Randee is running that gator.
Hey, I'm excited and I love this. You know, like I said, I didn't realize how much into science fiction I was till I met you.
Right.
And I basically met you and your wonderful wife, Lori. Well, I met her at Zombie Fest.
Of all places.
Right, exactly.
I was advertising, had a booth for Sci-Fi Bartow. We were young back then, so I'm going to bring on my friend Andrew Logan one day when we talk about zombies.
Yeah.
He's the gentleman that created Zombie Fest.
Oh, man.
So I want to bring him on board. We have so many awesome guests. My good friend Danny Zetto is a huge Spider-Man fan. He's going to come on board and we're going to talk about Spider-Man, the Avengers. I've got my good friend Robert Robertson. He is a renowned Bigfoot guy. He knows everything about Bigfoot, skunk ape, yetis, UFOs, all kinds of things. He's a future guest that's coming on board. That's another thing. Yeah. Randee gave me a project to find guests to be on the show, and I'm like, that's no problem.
Right. Yeah.
Within a day after we were talking about this, I had 8 people that want to be guests. Yeah. My good friend John Curtis, he is a renowned Disney theme park person. And we're going to talk about Disney World. I'm not a huge Disney fan. A lot of you people know that, but there's a lot of
we can spin it.
Controversial things going on.
Right.
I don't know, is it controversial that they're wanting to change the actress that's going to be the Little Mermaid?
Oh, yes, that is controversial.
And the live action is of a different color, and a lot of people are up in the air about that.
Yeah, we definitely need to talk about that.
I hate to use the word PC. I try to abide by that, and one thing we will not talk about on here is politics because that's such a hot topic. Everybody's got their own opinion. I don't want to touch on things like that. This is going to be fun. It's about science fiction. You can find us. We're going to post things on Facebook. Always comment if you have any ideas what you would like for us to talk about.
Yeah.
We're not 1,000% experts on everything, but we know enough about almost everything to keep us both going between horror movies, science fiction, Disney World, Bigfoot, things like that, which, you know, I really want to talk about in the future.
You had some more on your pad over there,
I did.
too.
Yes. Some more guests that we have coming. The renowned Mr. Bruce McGill.
Yeah.
What is his book?
Well, he has done the Iconic Time Box, and he has more coming out. But here's the deal. This book is really selling really well.
I've heard that.
He is, he's on the verge, so, you know, we might want to move him up high on the list before he gets too famous.
Absolutely. And then he might have to charge us.
I know.
Yes, future guests, you're doing this just to come hang out at my house. We'll feed you and give you drink or whatever, but it's a Sunday. We try to do everything on a Sunday morning, so, you know, which is easy because I'm sober. I'm an avid drinker, so... I want to mention this gentleman, and I loaned you his book, Mark Muncy.
Oh, yes.
He comes to Sci-Fi Bartow every year, and he has 2 awesome books, Eerie, Florida, and Freaky, Florida.
Yeah.
Check those books out if you're into, like, legends and urban legends and things like that. It's all about Florida. Hence the name. Florida's in both of his title.
Yeah.
I've loaned you one of his books. Yeah. You have not got to read it yet,
but I will
fantastic.
Before we have him on there.
I mean, you talk about a guy that's selling a book that sets up at Universal Studios to sell his book.
Right,
so it's very popular. Yeah. He's going to come and be on the show. We're going to have all types of guest appearances. And I want to do something, and I'm going to invite my good friend Johnny Womack, which does... He's a part of the Happy Hour with Johnny and Deuce, another awesome podcast, which I've been on many times. But he is really into soundtracks for movie themes.
Oh, okay.
And I would love to get you, Johnny, on the show and talk about that. And I might even let you mention your podcast if you're a good boy. I'm kidding. I love Johnny and Deuce. Kyle Deuce is one of my good friends. He helps us with Sci-Fi Bartow, and they're at Sci-Fi Bartow every year. But we're going to do things like that. It's just not just science fiction. We're going to touch on anything, you know. So, but if you really look at the realm of science fiction and horror, like we've been discussing, everything, one way or another, is linked to it. Okay? You've got hockey teams. I don't want to mention any of the Tampa Bay team, the Lightning or anything, but... they're doing superhero costumes or have in the past to play hockey in of their own superheroes. Yeah. You know, and if you look at Flash Gordon, the newer remake, he was a football player. Yeah. So there's a link there. All types of things, which they're remaking that too, by the way.
Which is another podcast because I'm not sure I'm on board with reboots.
Oh
and,
man, I know. We're going to talk about reboots
Yeah.
and all that as well too.
Yeah.
Starting with our next podcast about Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
I guess that's it. Do we
Yeah.
have any time, or are we out of time, or what?
No, this is it.
All right. Well, it's really awesome. I think it's going to be a great experience. I hope that you, our future fans, are either going to love us or hate us or like us a lot.
Yeah.
Like us on Facebook if you like the page. We'll throw out some great ideas. Randy's been pumping out ideas for future shows. Some great things. He's great with Photoshop.
Yeah.
Except I look like I got the crap beat out of me in that vampire. What the heck? What am I, mummy? What is that? You have all these cool, good-looking vampires, even those ones that sparkle or whatever the hell they are. And another thing I have not seen, the Twilight series.
Well, my wife helped me. You know, she put me in like, you know, hey, we need to go see these.
Oh my gosh.
So, you know, I'm all about the family man. So yeah, I watched them. You know what? They're pretty good.
Well, that's it. Our first show is in the can, and we'll see you very soon.
Yeah.
Thanks, Randy.
Thank
And
you,
we'll be
Sean.
talking sci-fi not too far from now.